They're going to make mistakes sometimes. ICE is going to be too rough with somebody, or, they're dealing with rough people. They're going to make a mistake. Sometimes it can happen. We feel terribly.
So that is Donald Trump admitting a mistake, kind of. I mean, he's not admitting a mistake that he has made. Like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have sent ICE to these places. Maybe we didn't need to send 3,000 people into Minneapolis. Obviously, he is never, ever going to admit that a mistake that he made. But even admitting that ICE can make mistakes, I think, is progress. Not towards personal growth, not towards a better, more mature Donald Trump. Forget about that. But it is progress towards at least us knowing that our hatred of ICE, of what they're doing, is sort of filtering through. They seem to be getting that the polls have turned against them, that this might be a thing that hurts them when they least need to be hurt, like in the midterms. And so he's sort of admitting that they are making mistakes. He's obviously still lying at the same time, saying they're dealing with the worst of the worst. The 5-year-old kid is not the worst of the worst. Renee Nicole Good is not the worst of the worst. They're brutalizing totally regular people, beating up teenagers outside of Walmarts and Targets and stuff like that. Try to brutalize and harass priests and journalists and everything. There's no worst the worst in any of this, but it is still progress. And let's turn out JD Vance. He's been carrying water for all of this. He never has a word of opposition to anything Donald Trump is doing to say. But let's turn out to this.
President Trump this week said that ICE has made some mistakes. I'm curious what steps the administration is taking to rectify those. And do you think your presence in Minneapolis today will calm the tensions there?
Well, certainly one of my goals is to calm the tensions, to talk to people, to try to understand what we can do better. When the president says that that mistakes have been made, my thought on that is that, well, of course there have been mistakes made, because you're always going to have mistakes made in law enforcement. But the number one way where we could lower the mistakes that are happening, at least with our immigration enforcement, is to have local jurisdictions that are cooperating with us.
Yeah, 99% of ICE is not doing the right thing. That's really fundamentally the problem. Also, I love that he's like, well, yeah, obviously they make mistakes. Well, hold up a second. Until Donald Trump acknowledged it, you never acknowledged this. What are you talking? Don't pretend that you've been reasonable and you're trying to lower the tensions or anything. You didn't push back against them declaring Renee a domestic terrorist. You didn't push back against any of this. You got your ass handed to you on Twitter by Ryan Grimm when you refused to acknowledge that she had been shot through the side window of the car. You flee from all that. You defend the brutality, you defend the murder. Again, as I pointed out on Twitter, far more passionately than you've ever in the past or in the future will defend your wife or kids. But now all of a sudden, you're freed up to acknowledge the mistakes they're making, JD Vance, but never where it matters, never with a backbone, never first to actually do it. He might very well be the Republican candidate, we'll see. But there is a weakness to JD Vance, a total and utter lack of spine to JD Vance that I, as an actual mature adult and as a man, find utterly repulsing, like at the cellular level. Now, thankfully for him, most of the Republican men that he's gonna be trying to get to support him in the primary don't have that makeup, and they worship people like Andrew Tate and everything. So maybe JD Vance will be right up their alley. But before you give JD Vance any more credit perhaps than I will, bear in mind, he still isn't gonna acknowledge any of the serious mistakes, including in the story that we've alluded to of the 5-year-old boy that was hassled and detained by ICE, being used as bait, not as a human being, but just as a means to an end. Take a look.
I actually saw this terrible story while I was coming to Minneapolis. We just left Toledo, Ohio this morning for an economic messaging event. And I see this story, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old, actually, a 5-year-old little boy. And I think to myself, oh my God, this is terrible. How did we arrest a 5-year-old? Well, I do a little bit more follow-up research. And what I find is that the 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien. And then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death? Are they not supposed to arrest an illegal alien in the United States of America? If the argument is that you can't arrest people who have violated our laws because they have children, then every single parent is going to be completely given immunity from ever being the subject of law enforcement. That doesn't make any sense.
I agree with JD Vance. That doesn't make any sense. Thankfully, that is not the argument that anyone is making. What the hell are you talking about? Again, he is so freaking pathetic. He is intellectually pathetic. He thought that that was clever. Who the hell is buying that? And also, I did extra research and it turns out it's great to detain and arrest kids. It's actually awesome. So I want you to think that I'm reasonable, but I will defend the murder of the mom. I'll defend the hassling of the kid. I will never push back. I will never protect the American people from this out of control regime. I am just following orders. That's all I will ever do. I'm JD Vance. Please vote for me in 2028. All right, what do you think?
JD Vance is no man. John and I were in a Walgreens in Milwaukee, Wisconsin that he entered, and he did not buy one Monster Energy drink. Nary an ounce of protein powder did he buy. He's not a real man. I do want to go back to the beginning video that we shared where Donald Trump, I'm not asked to play it, but like Donald Trump admits that mistakes were made. You, I, and everybody we know needs to acknowledge what a huge thing this is for Donald Trump to do. Asked how he did, what grade he would give himself, an A+. Have you ever made a mistake? No, I've never made a mistake. Everything I do is perfect. Yet now he said mistakes are being made. This is the equivalent of someone else crying and begging for your forgiveness and freaking out that the house is on fire. For Donald Trump to admit he made a mistake, and then just every other one of his lackeys, they know, this is the other pathetic thing, is they know they can't tell the truth and they can't admit things happened that everyone is seeing in videos all over their feeds. And they know that the dominant strategy for them is to immediately lie about what happened, immediately complain, and then if they have to, finally say mistakes are made because Don gave them permission to, which means that their priority is not the truth, is not reality. It's pleasing Donald. And Donald, who has never apologized for pretty much anything, is saying mistakes are made. Not to mention like JD saying, listen, these are human beings in ICE.
Yeah,
we know that. We're focused on the human beings that they're shooting in the middle of the street in broad daylight. We're talking about the human beings that they're holding hostage, they're taking out of running cars.
Yeah.
And saying, go up there and knock on the door, see if daddy's home.
Yeah.
It's insane. It is literally a double standard for who gets to be a human being that we care about in America.
If you enjoyed that, then make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming a member. So you're probably wondering, why would I do that? Well, when you do that, you get access to bonus content that I make every single week, and it's a lot of fun. You get custom emojis and more. If you join at tier 3, by the way, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself. And you'll get all that going forward, but you'll also unlock years of the back catalog that is literally 100 or more bonus clips and top 10 lists and debates and more. So what are you waiting for?